Hello, everyone. Welcome to another daily download, a live show on She Knows Arsenal. Make sure you guys like this video, subscribe to the channel, get into the chat, and let me know how you guys are thinking and feeling. Beck, seriously, I'm not joking. What are you doing? What did I say earlier? Like this video, subscribe to the channel, get into the chat, vote on the poll, and make sure you guys are signed up for the watch along for Germany versus Scotland. That's going to start at 7:45 p.m. UK time, 11:45 a.m. my time. Basically, immediately following this show, we will head over to TIFO and do the watch along for the first game of the Euros. If you're excited, let me know in the chat. I love international football when it means something, when there's a trophy on the line, when we're not just doing friendlies and nonsense. I want to see blood. And Kai Havertz scores some goals. Listen, I'm so excited about the Euros and Copa America. I have my Brazil top on because, listen, Copa America starts in a couple of days as well. So let's get into it. Yeah, we have things to talk about Arsenal-wise, obviously, as well. We're going to talk about the Victor Gyokeres pursuit. You know, over the last couple of days, we've been talking about, will Arsenal get a striker or not? Some in the knows are saying no. Nobody really of any sort of like credibility has said like 100% Arsenal are not getting a striker. And Jordan Davies, who was really on like the pulse of the Declan Rice saga last summer, is still reporting on Arsenal, and he has put out an article regarding Arsenal's pursuit of Gyokeres, which is seemingly not ended. So we'll talk about that, as well as Jean-Claire Todibo and Arsenal's push for him. He's a center back that plays for Nice. Manchester United have been most heavily linked to him, but Arsenal have him on their list, so we'll talk about that as well. Reiss Nelson wants to assess his options. That was the first Orny bomb that we got, Arsenal-related Orny bomb that we have gotten. And listen, anything, like even if it's not incomings, outgoings are so important because Arsenal have already kind of, I think, put a little bit of like breadcrumbs out there that they need to sell. And so Reiss Nelson is somebody that could bring in a decent fee. And Saliba, is he going to start the Euros? Because if he is, that's mad, because it was just a couple of days ago where, you know, Deschamps was talking about, oh, shit. Oh, my God, what's going on? Wait a minute. I have to add this in here. Sorry, guys. I have to add this in here. My Arsenal women fans, we're cooking. We're cooking. My favorite player, one of my favorite players, could be coming to Arsenal. Sorry. But going back to what I was actually talking about, Saliba, are you starting the Euros? Because just a couple of days ago, it was no Upamecano and Konate. He hasn't done enough, blah, blah, blah. Then he plays against, I think it was it Greece? Man of the match performance, and all of a sudden they're changing their tune. So I think Saliba should be starting, but I also am okay with him not starting because I'm like, he needs some rest. So I know for his personal, like, he's going to want to start. So whatever he wants, whatever is going to float his boat, that's what I want. But selfishly, as an Arsenal fan, if he was sitting on that bench, I'm not going to lose too much sleep over it because we need him more than anybody. Let me just put this in. This is big news for Arsenal women. Listen, I'm always going to plug my girls as much as they frustrate me, and Jonas is on my shit list. I love those girls so much. And so I'm hoping that we have a massive summer. But Tim Stillman of the Arsenal Vision podcast, as well as Arsblog, or he's on, you know, Arsblog's platform as well, has said that Arsenal are looking to maybe sign Kira Walsh. So for my Lioness fans, this would be massive because That would probably that would be such a weird signing considering it looks like we're getting Mariona Caldente. And so I would imagine she's coming. That's neither here nor there. But we already have Leah Walty and we signed Cooney Cross. So to bring in another midfielder that plays in that pivot role, somebody would definitely need to be leaving. But listen, I'm all for the more talent, the better. We need as much as we can get. So nothing will ever make me forgive them for letting Viv go without even a contract extension offer. But Kara Walsh, that's one of my girlies. That's one of my favorite players. She is like Xavi Alonso in that DM role, just pinging passes here and there. I mean, she would be brilliant for Arsenal. So, yeah, that would be a massive signing for us. But yeah, I'm excited. Who's all in here? Make sure you guys are getting into the chat. Let me know how you guys are thinking and feeling. Make sure that you guys do sign up for the watch along that's going to be, starting in just about an hour. And also, not to do too much housekeeping, but I just need to get all this stuff out so that when we actually start talking about stuff, I don't have to go back into it. But I do have the link pinned for the video messages. If you guys weren't here yesterday, we are moving over to Reacto starting Monday, and that's going to be the platform where I'm going to be streaming from. So no more StreamYard, Reacto. It's good for me because I get to upgrade everything the way that the show looks, and we can make it more professional, and you guys will enjoy that. But what you guys really care about is the video messages that you'll be able to send in. Like I said yesterday, if you guys have wanted to come on camera, but you get stage fright or you are afraid you're going to make a mistake or whatever, the video messages are a good opportunity for you to send in whatever you want to talk about, whether it's a question or a statement, a hot take, whatever it is. As long as it's nice, you can use that. Actually, we limited it to 30 seconds because 30 seconds is probably long enough for you guys. 30-second video message that I will have. And at the end of each show, starting Monday during this daily show, we will take about 15 to 20 minutes to go through those video messages. And so it's an opportunity for you guys to get onto the show, show yourselves, ask your question, put your take out there, kind of be a part of it a little bit more than just putting your comments in, and doing it in a way where if you make a little mistake, you can just delete it and redo it. And so the link is obviously it's pinned in the chat and it's also in the description box. So you guys can start putting those in now for the Monday show. We won't read them out or we won't put them up for this show, but they'll be available for the Monday show. So make sure you guys are clicking on that. It is, I think we set it for $2.99 for the video message. So very affordable. I think it's almost better than a super chat because again, you get more bang for your buck because you're actually putting your video out there. So yeah. World Boss says, Jess, you are the best content creator in my eyes. I love what you do. And I really appreciate you. Come on, you gunners. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I'm actually looking at your little picture. You look just like me on a plane with your champagne. Listen, every time I get on a plane, get me a little glass of champagne, clink, clink, so, but thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Elijah says, good evening, Jess. How are you? I'll be joining your watch along on TIFO. Looking forward to having a conversation with you. I'm so excited about the watch along, you guys. Kai Havertz, I just have a feeling he's going to have a massive tournament. And if he does, that just is so good for us. He had a good end of the season. And he scored a goal the other day, looking like a real striker out there. So I'm super excited about it. Blaze says, hi, Jess, how are you doing? I'm doing really well. Thank you so much. Denzel says, Arsenal are seriously need to get rid of all the dead wood because if Eddie Nketiah is still here with Arsenal starting next season, we ain't serious. Nico says, apparently Kanate has a flu. Well, we don't need to know that. We just need to feel like it's the vibes, okay? That he got dropped. Okay, I don't need all that information. Caesar says Wharton's the only one I want for the classic pivot. If somehow we go for a traditional number 8, give me Guerrero and all action Bruno or Neves. ESR goes. We need another number 10 for me and our Omo. No problem in the pockets. False 9. Lucas says I'm back after 2 months of some health issues. Oh my gosh, Lucas, thank you so much for tuning in and I hope you're feeling a lot better. now I'm realizing I haven't seen you in a while. So yeah, I hope everything is good with you. I hope you're feeling a lot better. And I'm just happy that, when you're feeling better, you've chosen to spend some time with me. So thank you so much. And yeah, hopefully you're feeling a lot better. African Wish Child says, who are you rooting for tonight, Jess? I'm rooting for everybody Arsenal. Everybody Arsenal I'm rooting for. I really don't have a dog in the fight. I could not care less about who wins the Euros. Um, Slightly maybe rooting against England just a little bit, not too much. Just as much as I love our boys, would love for them to come home a little early. And yeah, we're all Ben White tonight. I mean, I'm just saying, like, I have a little bit of a bone to pick. I'm not a big fan of the way that Southgate and everybody else kind of handled the whole Ben White thing. So I have a little bone to pick, a little. Yeah. So I'm just thinking maybe a little against England. And then also if they go out, then the boys come home a lot sooner. But that's just me. Caesar says, oh shit, wrong chat. If Todibo is coming to compete with Saliba, I prefer Silva or Diamande. And African Wish Child says, then it's a draw. So let's go ahead and get into it. Make sure you guys are liking and subscribing. Let's see. I can't get over the Kira Walsh thing. I mean, my brain is just like, what? Oh my God, it would be such a good team. Let me just repost this. Okay, so let's start off with the Gyokeres stuff because, yeah, everybody wants a striker, right? So, this is coming from Jordan Davies again. And he's basically saying that the Gunners have scouted Swedish striker Gyokeres several times in the past 12 months in their search for more firepower up top, which we do know that, and we've heard multiple times from multiple sources that Gyokeres was on the list. The 26-year-old who netted 43 goals in 50 outings for Sporting in all competitions last season has a release clause of £85 million. Arsenal would want to negotiate a fee in the region of 50 to 60 million, but Sporting aren't really willing to come down at all. And Sporting are kind of in a position as well where they're not under any sort of stress to sell because they know that they have Inacio and Diamande that they could sell, that they're a little bit more comfortable selling. So Diamande is definitely somebody that's on a lot of people's lists, including Arsenal's. We've been linked to him several times. Inacio has been linked to Liverpool and Man United and us lightly in the past. So they have other players that they could sell on, so they don't actually need to stress out about giving us a deal on Gyokeres. The Gunners' summer striker target Benjamin Sesko, blah blah blah, decided not to leave. So you guys know I'm a massive fan of Gyokeres. I think if we're going for a more proven striker kind of thing, then he would be a really, really good option. I'm not really concerned that he was in the championship last season. I told you guys I think the championship is a good place to shop, and I wish Arsenal would do more of it, So I really like him. He scored loads of goals. He just looks the business. He really does, and he works really hard. He has such a complete, he's just a very complete player. In my mind, I just feel like Arsenal wants somebody younger because of the whole Kai Havertz thing. I just feel like they're not going to splash. If they could get him for 50 million, maybe they would do it. But if they have to pay the 85 million pound release clause, and that's going to keep them from being able to improve in other positions that need immediate upgrading, I don't see them really doing this. But would I love Gyokeres? Absolutely. Am I going to be watching Sweden to see him play? No, I won't, because he won't be playing because he's injured. I just remembered that. But if he was not injured, I would be watching him because I think he's a fun player. It's just weird that Sweden have both him and Isak. But yeah, he's a really good player, but they're just not under any duress to sell. And so I just wonder if we'll just pivot fully to a winger. But what do you guys think about Gyokeres? I remember a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about Gyokeres, a lot of Arsenal fans had a little bit of an apprehension like to him because he went from the championship to Sporting and he didn't have the star factor. But now seeing that, it may not be an Osimhen or something like that, would that change your mind on him a little bit? 43 goals is nothing to turn your nose up at. And, I know that, again, like he's not the most exotic choice, but I mean, he scores loads of goals. Like, isn't that what you guys are looking for? Let's see what you guys are saying. Foxy says, poor Sweden that didn't qualify for the Euros. Same as Norway. Why are they so bad, guys? Sam says, how are we not even considering Fofana at Monaco? It's mind-boggling. Christopher says, club probably wants more of a sure thing. I can see that, him not being like a sure thing. I guess, are we really that concerned about him not being able to like translate even half of the goals that he scored in Portugal to the Premier League? We're talking about like 40 something goals here, but I kind of get what you're saying. I kind of get what you're saying there. Nico says he's my first choice after Isak. Christopher says, looking increasingly likely we're not actually going to sign a striker and instead put funds into a midfielder and a winger. Trossard, Havertz, and Jesus as option up top is great. I feel like, yeah, that's better than what we had at the beginning of last season. We started off last season with Nketiah and Jesus. That just wasn't enough. And every time, like, it's just so bad. Like, every time I see Jesus, like, on his stories or I see a video of him, like, doing his rehab, I start to, like, believe that he can be the player that was there like in those first 4 months of his career at Arsenal. But I just want to be realistic about things. And, I do think we're leaving ourselves a little bit uncovered with just Jesus and Trossard and Havertz. And on paper, that sounds really good. But I just know that Jesus is a guarantee for not like he's going to give you like the hard work and stuff like that, but he's not going to score very many goals. Trossard scores goals, but he doesn't give you the physical, attributes. And Havertz can miss sitters. Like he really, really can. So it's still leaving us a little exposed. And that's where the wing signing, I think, is just going to be so important because, that player can really take us to another level. If we don't get a striker and then we get a younger kind of winger that needs more development and we go for a midfielder and I don't even know what midfielder that's going to be, but we make sure we get the center back. It's just kind of give just like that little bit of like, okay, so what did we actually do this summer? Did we actually make ourselves better or what? So yeah, I want us to make sure that we're really serious up front. I really think we need something different. And again, the noise coming out of the club after we went out of the Champions League was that we lacked the X factor in that particular like tie. And I think we lacked it in many games. The games where we didn't score any goals were the games where we lacked the X factor. So to not go out and get that just feels like a little bit of negligence. But you know how Arsenal are. If they don't see the player available that they want, they won't just go get someone else. They will just not do it. We've been looking for another winger for 3 summers now, and we still have not gotten that player. So, we chased Rafinha, we didn't get him. We chased Mudryk, we didn't get him. So if they don't get that choice, they're just gonna go with something else. And I think the only reason why we really went for Trossard was because we felt like we needed reinforcement for the title race. But if we were not in that title race, we would not have gotten either one of Jorginho or Trossard. That was more because of the situation that we were in. You know what I mean? So they're very calculated with what they want to do. So yeah, maybe the Gyokeres thing doesn't come off. Maybe it's the winger, but I'm just hoping that they take it really serious. I do want to talk about some of the information from Team News and Ticks that came out about Toney. And, I'm really not surprised by this. We're not going to spend too much time on it. But, Team News and Ticks was talking about like the reasons why Arsenal avoided buying Toney. And he basically just said they don't like him. They met him and they didn't like him when he signed with his new agent last August. Remember, we heard about him signing with a new agency. He wanted a big deal. Like he wanted a big transfer. And he signed with his new agent in August, and they told him, like, what do you want? He said, I want to return to playing, return to the England squad, and move to a big club, preferably Arsenal. He saw himself as suitable for the position and thought he would score a lot of goals and thought he fit the system. And so Toney, by the way, did not score any goals in like his last 10 games for Brentford. So it's like, for somebody that talks a lot, he really didn't come back in with, all the interviews that he was doing about, when I come back, people are going to see, they're going to feel it. I'm going to make them see. He didn't make us see shit. He scored like 4 goals at the beginning, 2 of which were like, I think, free kicks. He really wasn't giving. But beyond not scoring any goals, like in his last like 1,000 minutes for Brentford, I just find his style to be not that appealing, because I feel like whatever striker we're going to get they have to be in the box scoring goals. I know that sounds very basic, but like, really, we have a lot of players that do the link up and, offer more than goal scoring. But if we have that already, then we really need somebody that excels at being a clinical finisher. So the physical presence in the box, the athleticism, the ability to strike the ball, somebody with a real like knack for scoring goals is what we would need, because we already have so many players that do the linking and do a lot of the play outside of the box. If we need somebody to do that, play Jesus or Havertz. You don't need to rebuy that profile. And so when you watch Toney play for Brentford, he's outside of the box a lot. Like, he kind of does like this pseudo Kane bullshit where it's like he's at the halfway line, he's on the touch line, creating for other people, but he's not even that good at that. Like, he's just, and maybe that's just the way that Brentford play, but for me personally, I was not that enticed by the idea of Toney outside of an emergency signing in January. But post, the January transfer window, Arsenal looked a lot better with Havertz up front. So like, the need for a striker lessened as the season kind of went on, because we saw that Havertz could do it. Pre that time, Toney looked like a good emergency option. Like, when you're desperate, you'll take anything. But once we got beyond the January window, I was like, I'm good on this, and it looks like the club was. He said they met him and didn't quite like him. With Toney, there's a lot of evidence of the character that you would imagine Arteta would not want in the team. And so, call it, he doesn't want big personalities, call it what you want. But I don't actually think that like Toney backs a lot of this like chest. Like, he's a big talker, he says a lot, but the underlying metrics, the performances at the end of this season with Brentford were not giving I'm the guy. It was very much like I run my mouth. If we were gonna go down that route, the English striker route, I like, based on the end of the season, obviously you'd have to put like Ollie Watkins first, but we wouldn't get him because obviously that's not a player that Villa would sell. Then I don't know, maybe Solanke, and then maybe Toney, based on the end of the season. So yeah, I'm not surprised that Arsenal didn't like him, and it's giving, I have a lot of chest, but I'm not really backing it up. But in terms of just looking for a striker, Arsenal probably do want a younger striker. I think Sesko is more of like a market opportunity. Now that that's gone by the wayside, unless Gyokeres was available for like 50 million, or a lot less than what Sporting were going to ask for, then we'll probably just shift that money onto a winger. And I'm just hoping we go for somebody with some sparkle dust, not just some. We already have like enough players that do the system. Please buy somebody with some special dust. That's all I really ask. That's like a natural winger, please. Like, we don't need another number 10 that can play off of the wing. Like, bring somebody in that actually excels in that position. African says the fact is that Wissa and Mbomo stood up pretty well during his absence as well. as when he finally returned. Hopefully he gets some playing time at the Euros to contribute to the England team. Honestly, like he's not a hear me out because I don't really actually I don't think I'd want him at Arsenal. I don't think he's at the required level. I love Mbomo. That's my guy. I love him. Like you could never make me hate Mbomo. Like that guy is so entertaining. He's fun to watch. He scores goals. He's athletic. I just love him. And the fact that he looks like a little old man, but he's actually like he's younger than Eze, which we had spoken about yesterday, is like crazy. I love Mbomo so much. You can never make me hate him. Do I want him at Arsenal? No, but yeah. Yo-Yo says, won't forget Jess campaigning for the likes of Toney, DCL, and Tammy Abraham. I never wanted DCL. That was actually George and Harry that wanted DCL. I was very much so against it. Tammy Abraham, I also was not that fond of. Toney, I wanted before we got to January. So, yeah, but fair enough. I mean, find the tapes. I remember when George brought up DCL, I said absolutely not. There was never a time where I wanted Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I always thought he was a bum. Foxy says, credit to him. He's become a solid prem forward, holds the ball up very well, ice cold on pens, but limited player overall. And although I do feel like we need somebody with that dead ball, like that dead ball specialist, like he's not it. Like he's really like the rest of his game is just too, he's just not a great striker. He's just not. So Toney, he might get a move. He may not. You know, it was said like Chelsea and Man United and Arsenal were all interested, but he's giving Spurs. Like he should just go there. Blaze says Toney is arrogant, and this is the reason why some fans hate him. Let's see. Christopher says rumor is United are after him. I mean, they kind of need somebody that's a little bit more like done, more experienced than Hoyland. So that makes sense for them, you know. So if he went there, I'd just be like, that makes so much sense. Go there. Like he's not the one for us. I don't know who that is. Because nobody's really screaming like I'm dying to give this guy the number 14. I know some people are like, it's Osimhen. I don't even feel that great about Osimhen at this point. Like, I don't know who that player is going to be. Maybe we just wait until next season for Isak. What do you think about that, Foxy? You think that's a good idea? Ultimate Gooder says, so glad Sesko stayed there. Never wanted him in the first place. He scored just 18 goals last season. Gyokeres scored 43. The difference is clear. Gyokeres is what we need. I hope we got him. I guess. I mean, if you just look at the numbers, you think, oh, 43 versus 18. Gyokeres was a main starter for Sporting. You know, Sesko was not. Sesko is 20. Gyokeres is 26. Context matters. You know, context matters a lot in conversations around who would be the better option. There are pros and cons to both. I personally think Sesko in a year will be the same name that people that are saying don't get him now will be crying when he ends up somewhere in the Premier League and he's like the next Haaland. Like he's more technical than Haaland. He has all the physical attributes to be a complete number 9, great striker of the ball, really had a good end of his season where he really started to like score more goals more frequently. And for somebody that does not play every single game, that comes in here and there and is not a true starter at 20, 18 goals is not like anything to like turn your nose up at. We don't have any players that scored 18 goals last season. So I just want to like, you know, I'm just like, hello, like, let's not pretend like that's like a small amount. Now, Gyokeres definitely is more like he's more experienced and he's been around the block a lot longer. But you know, he has his downsides to him as well. So yeah, that's just kind of where I'm at with it. It's just a two different players. It's hard to compare. They'd be coming in like in a completely different light. I feel like you have to compare Gyokeres to like Osimhen and like Toney and those guys, where you would compare Sesko to Evan Ferguson and Xerxes. Like, I feel like those are the two, like they're two different categories of like, you'd be getting Sesko for a completely different reason than you'd be getting Gyokeres for. Gyokeres comes straight in and Havertz has to go somewhere else. Like he has to either play midfield or hold bench. Sesko would come in and Havertz would maintain the number 9, maintain the starting position. Sesko would be somebody that if he got 18 goals off of the bench for us, we'd be gagging, So it's just a completely different conversation, I feel. Completely different conversation. Let's talk a little bit about Jean-Claire Todibo and Arsenal's interest in him. Jean-Claire Todibo actually played alongside Saliba at his time at Nice. Sometimes I forget that he played at Nice because he had like a couple of loans. He stayed at Saint Etienne. He did the loan at Nice and then did the loan at Marseille. The Marseille one is the one that I feel like we remember a lot more, but he did do the loan at Nice and played alongside Jean-Claire. And he's a very good center back. I think they actually played with each other not too long ago for the French national team too. So, they know each other well. He's a young, really good center back for Nice. I think his best qualities are what he does on the ball. From my understanding, like he's a really good passer of the ball out from the back. He's 24 years old, so just a little bit older than Saliba, 6'3", so he's really tall, which is great. And like his passes attempted, his pass completion, his progressive passes, his progressive carries, his successful take-ons, all of those things for a team that wants to play football is really, really good. And then he has like a good tackle success rate and interceptions. So he's a good, solid defender. He's very good playing out from the back. He has the physical capabilities. He definitely gives Premier League. We talked about it yesterday. If you want a DM, center midfielder, fullbacks, or center back, shop in Ligue 1. That's where the people are at. Now, in terms of like where's the information coming from, Barcelona, like a Barcelona outlet has spoken about it because they would get 20% sell on because he was at Barcelona. And Nice are asking for 50 million euros. I guess that's probably like 43 million pounds. You guys can let me know about if I did that right. But this is Chris Wheatley. So it's just crazy how Chris Wheatley has like come back like after his scandal, but not too long ago. But he was always like a good journalist. So, I still like rate his like information. I just think he got that one thing very wrong and that could really go against you. But he said that a name was mentioned to him a few weeks ago, and that was Jean-Claire Todibo from Nice. He's really sought after. Manchester United have been the main name linked with him. But interestingly, I heard that he was above other players on Arsenal's shortlist. So this is for the people that want a center back more than a left back. I'm not really thinking that he's somebody that you can, make into a left back, so you'd be bringing him in as the backup. Now, I don't really want a center back anymore. I really want the left back. I just feel like that left-hand side needs real surgery. We need a true specialist left back that can offer support to the left wing, whoever that is, whether it's Martinelli or somebody else. And we need another midfielder and on the left-hand side. And so to bring in a center back that won't be a starter feels a little bit like we're neglecting the starting position on the left. And if we even think about getting 2 defenders, I'm done. A goalkeeper and 2 defenders is not the kind of window Arsenal need to be focusing on. We need to be looking up front and in midfield more than anything. Buy 1 defender, but please make it be a left back. Now, if we got him, I would love it for 2 reasons. Because he's talented and it would save like Saliba, it would save Saliba, but and Gabriel, I guess he can play on both sides, but we'd be getting one on Manchester United, and you guys know that's my life's work. Whenever we can get one over on Manchester United, I'm there, I'm front and center, I am seated, okay? So of course I would take him. Is it what I would do? No, I'd get a left back. But again, Arsenal are going to look at the options available on the market, and they will move for the position that they feel like they can get the closest, like the player closest to what they actually want. So if it turns out that the left back that they want is not available, or that profile is not on the market, or they're unconvinced with the players that are available, they'll move for a center back instead, and we'll do the merry-go-round at left back once again, some combination of Kivior or Tommy or Timber, and to me, that's just not something I'm trying to see again. But listen, not my choice. Not my choice, but Todibo looks like a really good player. I take him, but I do think that, Man United have the leg up because of Ineos and Nice and all that kind of stuff. But who wouldn't want to play with Saliba? I mean, hello. The Emirates Faithful says both had one season and there's only one clear winner. Let's not talk about age and stuff, because if it was just about age, we would have that youngster who scored for fun playing up top for us. I mean, if you just want to say you prefer Gyokeres, just say that. But to pretend like Sesko and Gyokeres in one conversation makes any sense, you're lying. Just say you want Gyokeres. If you just say you want Gyokeres because he's older and he scored more goals, but it really doesn't make sense because they'd be playing two different roles. And yes, the age matters, the context matters, where he is in his career, all of those things matter. They all matter whether you like it or not. You just want a different striker. That's fine. Just say you want Gyokeres, but it's just pretending like a 20-year-old scoring 18 goals off of the bench is somehow like that makes him like he would not be a good player for Arsenal. Doesn't make sense. You just want Gyokeres because he scored more goals. You want a more guaranteed thing, but there are non-guarantees about Gyokeres as well. It was not too long ago where people didn't even want Gyokeres because he played up in Portugal and used to play in the championship. So the whole mood on him changed once we were linked to a younger striker, because people feel like prospect equals failure. I don't think it actually equals that. In a year, people that want Gyokeres, want Toney, want Osimhen are going to be crying that we didn't get Sesko. Just like what happened with Isak. The same exact thing happened with Isak, where he was like 21 years old and was at Sociedad. It wasn't fancy. He had only 4 goals or something like that for Sociedad, and we didn't get him. Everybody was bitching about, he just wasn't enough. He wasn't good enough. Let's go get blank, only for it to come back and bite us in the ass. He's the player that we want now, but we can't get him. It's the exact same thing. There are just a couple of players in the market that have those physical qualities to be a complete number 9. There's not a lot of them. The market is dry. So even though I love Gyokeres and I would take him in a second because I think he's a baller, like I think he's a really, really good player, the age and all that kind of stuff, removing the context about what kind of player he will become, feels disingenuous to the conversation. Just say you want somebody that has more goals because that feels more comfortable. Like, that's all it really is. Like, come on. Belichick says Gyokeres was in the championship the year before. How did you miss him? Let's see. Samuel says, what did he do? Not sure what that's about. Otani says Mudryk struggles with passing and decision-making, bad fit for any possession-based team. Why are we talking about Mudryk? Keenan says left center mid, left back DM, right wing, center back and striker in that order, especially if Jesus stays. We really only need a class left center mid and left back to compete for silverware. Depending on outgoings, we can do more. I kind of agree. Like, there's obviously like 6 or 7 things that people feel like we need. We need a backup center back. We need a backup. We need a left back. We need a number 10. We need another DM. We need a striker. We need a winger. It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff, but there have to be priorities. And I think those priorities are just a couple of positions that, we still have some question marks on. I think they're so obvious, but is it really center back? I know that it's like, but if Saliba gets injured right now, the left back is just like, we don't even have a real starter that we feel confident in right now in that position. That needs to be settled first before we talk about backups. And that's why I'm very keen on getting these things we've been talking about for years settled. We've been talking about the other midfielder for years. We've been talking about a winger for years. We've been talking about left back for at least like this season. So those things have to get done. They haven't been addressed. And I'm just like, how long are we going to go without addressing these main concerns? Like, yeah, another center back is important, but like, hello, we don't even have a starting left back that's like of the level. And that's just no shade to Kivior or Tommy or Zinchenko. I like all three of those players, but I don't want to see them at left back next season. I want to see Kivior at center back. I want to see Tommy at center back. And I want to see Zinchenko at somebody else's club. And I love Zinchenko as a player. I think he's a good player, but like, if we're not going to renew him, we need to move him on. So fix what we know needs fixing. Like fix what we know needs fixing. And Remy, I love Timber, but he's gonna play on the right. Like there's no reason to shoehorn him in the left because we are unable to just buy a left back. The fact that we don't have one at this stage is ridiculous. We've bought Tommy, Kivior, and Zinchenko, and Tierney was renewed, and not any of them are good enough. But we want to move somebody that we bought for the right to the left to make up for not recruiting properly at left back. I just find that to be just like ridiculous. Yeah, to me, it's ridiculous. The reason why Jorginho played so much more than he was supposed to this season is because we just haven't recruited in a position that we've been avoiding for years. Like, just get it done. We'll be so much happier when we have a left back that's at the same level as Timber and Ben White. We'll be so much happier when we don't need somebody to do a job in midfield to give us balance for a position that we've been asking for like 3 years now. And we'll be so much happier when we just buy another attacker that gives us a little sparkly dust. That's it. That's it. Like, that's it. Remy says, you sure Arteta started him left back first game of last season? Yeah, but he also started him his first game ever as an Arsenal player was then right back. And when he played against Everton like the other day, he was at right back. He's played right back too. Like, and when you look at the depth chart that Edu had in his office, Timber is on the right. We did not buy a right-footed player for the left-hand side. Does that make any sense, guys? Like, does that make sense? Does it? It doesn't make sense. Like, we only played him at left back because we didn't have another option. Arteta wasn't sure on Tommy. He wasn't sure on Kivior. Zinchenko was injured. He had no other choice but to move Timber to the left because he's good enough to do it. But he was always bought for the right. He was always bought for the right. And he needs to be on the right because we have the perfect right back, right center back depth. We're perfect. We have Ben White and Timber and Saliba on that side. That is perfect. It's done. It's complete. Make sure the left-hand side is the exact same. Just get a left back. Just buy a left back. And also the reports came out the other day. Arteta is not excited about the options that he has at left back. So if he's not excited about what he has, and that includes Timber, just buy a left back. Why are we constantly linked to left backs? Because we need one. Like, Timber is he's not the answer. Like, he's not the answer for left back. He's just not. Like, I think people just want to put him there because it was the Community Shield and he did well there. But how much better would we be if we had Timber and Ben White and another player on the left that could play at that level? That's much better than just shoehorning him in on the left and just closing our eyes and pretending that that's okay, because it's just not. It's not good enough. Keenan says, I think Timber's preferred position will be right back. He could fill in for Saliba, right-sided center back to give him rest, and depending on the tactics, could be used to play that Stones box midfield progression. I agree. I think a right-footed player, a right-footed defender, by the way. I know Cancelo has made people believe that, like, putting somebody on the other side just makes so much sense. But genuinely, how many players are fullbacks and then play on the opposite side? Let's be serious for like 1 second. But also, like, the whole Ben White thing, like, I see it in the comment section, the whole Ben White thing about, like, are we throwing him to the bench? I'm like, we have to get more comfortable, including the club, with having good players on the bench. Like, that is good depth. Like, that is actually building a squad that can compete with the likes of City. Having Timber and White on that side. But people are so afraid to see Ben White on the bench because we're not used to seeing good depth. That's actual depth. That's like real shit. That's not like, what we've had this season where we've had a lot of like dead weight on the bench where it's like there are people there, but it's not actually like contributing. how good would it be to have Ben White and Timber fighting it out for right back? They have different qualities. They do different things well, and they're good players, right? You have those two, and then you had something similar on the left, like Tommy and a new left back, and Kivior could be at the left-sided center back. Wow, look at that. We're good. We're stocked. We look good. We have depth and quality in every single position. That's what we should be aiming for. But I think people are afraid of the idea of Ben White not starting every single game. I am giddy at the idea of Ben White not starting every single game. I am tired of seeing his legs strapped and knowing that he's not fit enough to play, but he's still out there. I am tired of that. But I don't want him sitting on the bench for Cedric or some guy that's not good enough. But for Timber, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I don't think it's that deep. But I know that it's hard to see depth coming in because you start questioning, okay, like, well, what's going to happen with Ben? I think there's a similar thought process around Martinelli. What's going to happen to Martinelli if he's not starting every single game? Nothing. Nothing. He's just going to come in, like, they're going to fight for the position. In one side of our mouth, we're like, we want the same level of depth as City, but we don't want to see our favorites on the bench. Make it make sense. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. I love Ben White to death. I love him with everything. But my feeling on Ben is that long term, he's going to be like that consistent guy that we have, but there probably is a player that could just about upgrade upon him. Don't shoot the messenger, but I think Timber is a slight upgrade on a player that's already like an A- player, B+, A- player for us. And that's the level that we need to be at. We've pretty much completed the right-hand side. You have like the best right-sided center back in the world right now, plus Timber and Ben White. We're so close to greatness. We're so close to greatness. If we could just do it on the left, we're sorted. And then if, like, let's say it gets rank on the left and something happens, somebody gets injured, we have some problems over there, Timber can play there in a pinch. We're so close to greatness. I just want to see us get there. Boy says Timber is a center back first, right back second. He should be used to rotating White and Saliba for the season if Arteta is serious. And I think it works. I really think it works. I don't think it's a big deal. Otani says White has to compete for a spot, even if he's a team of the season. Arsenal will only benefit. I agree. And I just have this feeling with Ben that he's the first iteration of that position for Mikel, but there's always kind of like a deviation to a better version. And I feel like that's Timber, but that doesn't mean that Ben is like finished or anything, because there's a world where Timber can play right back and White can play right sided center back if Saliba needs a rest. And that's the kind of rotation that I'm thinking about. I'm not really thinking about, oh my God, somebody's going to be on the bench. Like, what's going to happen? Speaking of Saliba, does anybody have an issue with him starting for France? How do we feel about that? Let's see. Yeah, I like personally, like Saliba starting for France is a great thing, but also like a nerve-wracking thing. Just because how much time do we have? Okay, still have like 20 minutes because I was like, I wasn't even keeping time. But I just feel like I would love to see him starting for France. I'd love to see him because, like, let's say Kanate has a flu. Who cares? Having somebody get ill and you step in for them can really set you up well in a tournament, because if you play well, it's going to be hard to drop you. And so I'm excited about potentially seeing Saliba start for France. I'm just like a little bit, I am always going to have that worry in the back of my mind. Just that worry in the back of my mind. Like, I really don't want him to get injured. Oh no. What is this? What is this? Oh no. Sky Sports News understands that a Champions League club has made an official inquiry to Everton regarding midfielder Amadou Onana. The 22-year-old Arsenal have inquired about the availability. I'm gonna show you guys this shit. See, this is why. This is why I could never know Mikkel, because I just feel like, what are you doing? All right, I'll show it to you. Okay, so you guys can see it. So, but like, what pisses me off is that, like, just the other day they were saying like we were not gonna get him. So like I have to believe that they're just making shit up. Maybe there's somebody else that wants him, and they're just trying to use us to make them buy him. Maybe it's like a little bit of games from Everton, knowing that like Everton need to sell. I need to make this feel like it's not real, right? Here you guys go. Here you guys go. Here you guys go. I don't hate Onana. I don't hate Onana. So people stop in the comments saying, "Oh my God, you hate him." I don't hate somebody I don't know. I don't know this man. I do not know this man. I cannot hate somebody I do not know. But I don't want him at Arsenal. And so this is the way I'm gonna like rationalize how this is going. That Everton want to force Man United up on their bid for Branthwaite. So they're pushing this narrative that they have somebody else they can sell. So they're not in like any sort of like desperation to sell him for like any sort of like discount. That's what I'm going for. That's what I'm going with. That is what I'm going with. That's what I'm going with. Because just the other day, they said we were not going for him. Like, there's just no way. Like, we're going for him. He's just not it. He's just not it. So yeah, but this is coming from like Joe Thomas, who's the Everton correspondent for Live Echo EFC. I guess he might be a like just like a in the know or like an Everton source, whatever. And then there's another one. Sky Sports News understands that Champions League club has made an official inquiry to Everton regarding Amadou Onana. He's valued around £50 million. I don't think that just cannot be us. It just cannot be us. Like, let's be serious. Also, Kai is starting, but we already knew that. So yeah. How do you guys feel about that? I mean, I can't see him at Arsenal. I just cannot see him at Arsenal. I don't think he's good enough. But for, Coach Dave is saying you definitely seem to have a thing against Black players. If you actually do believe that, one, I feel sorry for you because you're projecting something on me that's completely untrue. And there's no way that Patrick Vieira can be my favorite player. And I hate Black players. I don't hate any Black players. I don't hate Black people. Like, just because, and first of all, I'm just going to say this really quick. A lot of people built up this narrative about me that I don't like Black people and I don't like Black players because somebody that I dated was white. Grow up, mind your business, and stop projecting bullshit on me. I don't hate Black people. Like, I don't hate Black players, but I'm not about to sit here and not say that, or say that I want Onana, who's a limited player that doesn't seem to me he's not good enough for Arsenal, and pretend like I think he is, because I don't want to hurt your feelings, because I don't want people to say something that's untrue about me on the internet. I literally sat here the other day and said that I would love to have Bakayoko at Arsenal. Is he not Black? I'm sorry. Is he not Black? I would take Alphonso Davies. I love him. I think he's great. I said yesterday I would take Eze just because he's a good player. Is he not Black? So you built that up in your mind based on either who I dated or the fact that, like, I don't know, maybe because I grew up in like a white neighborhood in California, but don't project bullshit on me. Like, that is like the dumbest thing I've ever heard. It's ridiculous. Like, let's be serious for 5 seconds. I mean, this doesn't make any sense. Nobody has a problem with Black players. Like, it's just nonsense. Like, grow up. Art says could be Villa. It could be. I keep forgetting that Villa is the Champions League club, but they just brought in Ross Barkley. So do they really need him? Do they really need him? But take him. Ultimate Gunner says Gyokeres got 43 goals last season. Do you reckon he'll score at least 30 plus for us next season? And do you think we'll get him for around 50 to 60? I don't think we'll get him at all. And I think the reason for that is because we want to spend about 50 or 60 million pounds on him. And do I think he could score 30 plus goals? I would say he's probably good for like at 20 plus, but 30 plus is a lot. Not many players get that. So the idea of Gyokeres being that, no. But I would take him. I would take him because I just think he's a really, really good player. And he's vibey, but I just don't think we'll get him because Sporting are not in any sort of like desperation to sell. They're just not. MM says School of Moyes. I said this the other day. I really don't see Arteta's like what he got from Arsene. I just see more Moyes than Pep than anything. I don't see like anything from Arsene. Before we get out of here, though, I do want to talk about Reiss Nelson. We have about like 15 minutes, but I do want to talk about Reiss Nelson because Ornstein actually came out today and said that it was our first Orny bomb. Let's see. Actually, let me just post this right quick. Let's see. Oh my gosh, Onana, it just feels like it is it happening or what? So Ornstein said that Reiss Nelson wants to assess his options. And I don't think anybody is going to be like that upset if Reiss Nelson does leave the club. You guys can let me know in the chat. There's like 450 of you guys or 75 of you guys in here. So what do you guys actually think about Reiss Nelson? Because I think this is the perfect time for him to leave. I actually thought he should have left last summer. But he informed Arsenal that he wants to assess his options for a potential transfer this summer. Arsenal rejected approaches in January and would want 20 million, including add-ons if we decided to sell. I had him down for about a 10 million pound sale. So if we were to be able to like push it to 20, I'd love that. Now, the amount of suitors that he has is really good because you could potentially get like a little bit of like a bidding war, and they're all Premier League sides, which is even better. Crystal Palace, Fulham, Nottingham Forest, and West Ham. They all have money. They all could bring him in. So I'm loving the idea of this. I think Reiss Nelson is a Premier League level player, just not maybe for Arsenal. He hasn't really kicked on. Not quite sure if he's the type of winger that we need. He seems more of somebody that looks better coming central. He just really hasn't pushed on. And so at 24 years old, you have to be desperate to leave Arsenal. You're not going to start for us. And being able to land at another like London-based side would be amazing for Reiss Nelson. Palace, who's just like they're killing it right now. Fulham could use a player like him. West Ham, like these are good clubs. You also have Nottingham Forest, but like they're a little bit of a shit show sometimes. But yeah, I think this is the perfect time for Reiss Nelson to go. He's just not going to get like any playing time really, and he's a good little player, but he's not good enough for us. I think that's okay to say. So yeah, I like him. I like him. I just think he needs to find something else, somewhere else to go. So yeah, 20 million would be an amazing fee. Vegas Gunner says, thank you so much for your super chat. Says Onana wouldn't be a bad look if true. We need some more thugs. If we're going to lovers and friends, then they shouldn't question your blackness. Listen, I was supposed to go to lovers and friends, but you being in Vegas, you may know this, but it was canceled. And me and my good friend Gabby, who actually came all the way from Philadelphia to come see me, we had bought the tickets to go to Lovers and Friends, and they canceled it the night before, and I was absolutely devastated. I'm still shook. I'm still shook because I was so excited to go. But actually recently, I think I told you guys this, that me and my best friend actually went to the Janet Jackson concert. So that was a lot of fun. It kind of made up for it, but not really. But it's not even just like questioning, it's a weird thing to put out there of somebody that you don't actually know. And saying that I have a problem with Black players because I don't want Onana at the club is so strange because I wanted even it's like a shame to admit it now. I wanted Basuma at the club. I want Bakayoko at the club. There's tons of Black players that I've advocated for and that I advocate for on the team now and in the past. So it's just a strange thing to say. And it's hurtful too, because it's just like, you don't know me, but like those types of things get out there and they stick to you. And like, why would you do that to me? Like, it's just so strange. But thank you so much for your super chat. Moses says, is there a possibility that Mikel might play three center backs in the back? I mean, we kind of do that already. I think going to like a real three at the back, I don't see that. We've been building upon like something for 2 years. I don't see us breaking it apart to go to wing backs and three at the back, but we kind of already play like that anyway. We have Ben White and Saliba and Gabriel. Those are three natural center backs, even at times four natural center backs back there. Somebody's already always kind of inverted. I actually loved this season when Ben White was inverted. I thought that was very nice. It was very nice. It was so clean because it also kept Kivior from having to do a lot of inverted stuff, which he wasn't that great at. So I actually don't think we'll move to like a 3/5. I think we'll keep with what we're doing now, less inversion from a midfielder type and more inversion from like a center back. I don't think we're going to get rid of the inversion. I think whether we play with the diamond or we play in the system that we've been playing now with the 4-3-3, there'll always be like an element of the back line going into three at the back or even two at the back to allow more overloads in midfield. I hope that answers your question, but I just don't think we will change that much from last season. We'll just get some better players. Theo says fixing the left half space dynamics is more important than a shiny new striker. Listen, we really need to like fix the left side, because I do agree with people that have said that it's impacted Martinelli. I don't think it's as much as people were saying. I think they were kind of relieving him from any sort of responsibility, but I could see how things changed the way that like he could be utilized, and it never really got solved. And to be honest, the left half space for Arsenal has been a little bit of a like issue for the whole time that Arteta's been here. We haven't had a fluid left-hand side. Our right-hand side has always worked really well, but the left-hand side is just like very much like it, not an afterthought, but something that never really flowed that right. And I think once we kind of locked in on Zinchenko and Xhaka, that worked. But once people figured it out, we struggled again. And so having a natural left back on that side and a midfielder that can replicate some of the things that Xhaka did and maybe some of the things that Partey does as well, I think would be the best use, but if you get Onana, I don't know how you're going to do it. Remy says back up to Bowen, Harry Wilson, and Olise. Bowen, man. I like Bowen. Y'all know this, though. Ivy says, I could be wrong, but I don't think Onana can do the line-breaking passes. We need another player that could do that on the left-hand side. That's one of my main reasons for not liking the Onana link, is because unless we're going to bring in somebody like, I'm seeing a name in the comments like Wharton, I don't actually see how he helps us on that side. But that also would say to me that like I don't know, because like Onana's not really a number 6, but I feel like his better position would be a 6 because he could break up play very well. I just don't Onana is a very strange player to me because I think he's best utilized in a double pivot. So we could play a double pivot, but Arsenal also want to allow Declan Rice to go forward, so maybe that allows them to do it. I don't know. He's just not the type of player that I want in midfield. Troy says Arsenal must get Fofana and Bakayoko. And now Fofana, another player that I've advocated for many, many times that happens to be Black. But again, narratives go narrative. Keenan says the striker market is shit right now. Hopefully next summer, the new crop of talent emerges across Europe. If we are spending 100 million, I would rather us identify the next Mbappe instead of going for Osimhen right now. Good point. Philip says, Jess, I've seen a good argument that Onana is solid cover for both Rice and Saliba. Add starting left back, starting center mid, and a backup winger, and you're very well stocked. It just doesn't really solve the lack of being able to like pick a pass on the left-hand side, the line breakers that we've been talking about. Unless you want to see a lot more of Jorginho, I do feel like going with him just is not solving it. But he's just like, as a player alone, I can see why he's very attractive to the Arsenal fan base because he's tall and he's strong and he wins the duels and he's already Premier League proven and he's young, but you're not going to be able to teach him how to do the passes. And I just feel like we need that. But he could run through the lines, you know, he could carry the ball through the lines. That's something he could do. He's a decent carrier of the ball. So to me, he's limited and not the guy, but I'll have to pretend I've always wanted the signing if we do sign him. Mr. Adams says modern day players are average compared to the previous generation, but for some reason the coming crop are elite, but do we have 2 years to wait? I think we're fine, like in terms of like I would rather us, I kind of agree. Instead of just kind of going for whatever player, I do feel like either getting the like instead of just getting like a more average person, if you can't get the elite already like ready to go, like develop talent, get somebody that has like elite potential and bring them up. I'd much prefer that than like just get whoever. I just don't know if Arsenal would do that. You know, when's the last time we bought somebody for the future? You know, everybody that we've bought so far is for the now. And so, unless I'm missing something, I feel like we'll either not get the player or go for somebody like maybe there's some targets that we haven't seen yet that Arsenal are looking at that are more what they're looking for, or they just won't get the player at all. They won't address that position. But there'll be some other players that are available in like a year that maybe we could wait on, you know, maybe you'd wait on the João Neves, or maybe you wait a year on Wharton, or, you know, you go get like a Musiala in a year or so. I just feel like we still have to improve the squad this season. And so, you know, you can't just go through a whole summer and not do anything, or like just barely like get the goalkeeper and like a defender. Like the midfield, I do feel like needs to be solved at the very least. But that's kind of where I'm at. But yeah, if you guys like Onana, like Onana. We don't gotta like the same things. Like it's your world, you know. But I hope you guys are all liking the content. There's 522 of you guys watching, which is freaking amazing. And we're gonna head over to Tifo in just a second to do the watch along because it's time for the Euros and your girl's excited. So the link in the description box is the link that you'll use in order to get to the watch along. I'll also spam it in the chat right now too, just so you know you guys can get to it quickly. But when you guys click on the link, if you're not already signed up, it'll ask you for your email and then code Jessica JESSIA JESSICA in order to go ahead and join. I would love to see a lot of you guys there. I think it's going to be so much fun. It's not Arsenal based. And I think that that's why I like these watch alongs, because I don't have to be like, oh my God, are we going to lose? Like I can just like relax a little bit more. And so, yeah, the watch along is going to start in 4 minutes and 14, 13, 12 seconds. I already have World Boss in the chat, which I really appreciate. The last one that we did for the US men versus Brazil was fire. We had so much fun. The chat was so lively. And I actually was not sure that people would show up because of the time of it, but some of you guys just showed up just to say hello, which I love that. The support in this community is amazing. And so, and the benefit of coming onto TIFO is a little bit of a smaller community. So if your comments aren't being seen here, they'll definitely be seen there because there's usually like less people and it's a little bit more interactive and things like that. So make sure you guys, you know, join the watch along. I can't wait. Like I need to actually get, I'm not gonna hold Bex. Actually, yeah. First of all, need to check to make sure that this dog isn't doing anything in terms of like ruining my house, because he was actually eating the you know, the frame of the door. He was eating the frame of the door like 2 minutes ago. He might be eating right now, but actually just need to take him out really quick, get something to eat and all that kind of stuff, like some snacks and stuff. And then I'm going to go ahead and turn on the game and get to the watch along. So make sure you guys are there. It's going to start in like 2 minutes, 3 minutes or something like that. But obviously the game doesn't start for 15 minutes after that. So we can kind of build things up. But I'll see you guys in just a minute. But make sure if I don't see you guys for the watch along, like this video, subscribe to the channel. Also, send in a voice message for, if you guys want to, or a video message for the Monday show. I can't wait to get those started. But listen, I'm so excited about international football. Hopefully you guys are too. Thank you guys so much for all of your nice comments about the kit as well. Your girl loves a Brazil kit. And yeah, I'll see you guys in just a second. Bye, guys.